We now move into an engaging industry panel session on AI, ML and Industry 4.0. We are delighted to invite Mr. Kalyan Ram, Indxo AI Pvt Ltd, Mr.Arindam Lahiri, ASDC, and Mr.Aniruddha Kadkol, PWC India, to join us for the discussion.
Great. Good morning, one and all. I think it's a little afternoon now. We have a time definition again of 45 minutes. We would also, we internally had some discussions on how we are going to run this panel. One of the things that was evident and common in our, at least in our understanding, is that this has to be engaging, engaging all of you, because what we want to do here is, I mean, there's a lot of goody stuff that we have always spoken about. I think it's time to wash the dirty linen in the open. So let's get to the not so good part of what we have in front of us. And I think it's true that we have to agree that we have enough challenges. Let's try to put up all the challenges and try to see. I think industry academic collaboration is a discussion that we have in every sense, and there are n number of complaints on either sides. There is no hiding from that. So now that we have some opportunity to kind of sit and openly discuss about it. And we have very eminent people along with us who can help us navigate this problem. As recently as yesterday's dinner, myself and Ravi, we were literally having a heated up conversation in this context. So I think we can have enough heat, I mean, whatever it is needed to take it to the next level, right? So let's get started. I think we have very eminent people with us. Introductions, quick introductions. Arindam ji, he's the CEO of ASDC, Automotive Skill Development Council. Aniruddha Kadkol here is, a very senior director with PWC. I would request them to introduce a quick introduction, just 2 minutes each.
Hi, very good afternoon to all of you. Glad to be here. In fact, when Kalyan had shared this with me about probably 6 months back, I said, do you really want me to come here and discuss? So he said, no, of course. So I represent an organization called Automotive Skill Development Council. It's an apex body created by the automotive industry, all the 3 major associations in India, SIAM, ACMA, and FADA. And we work as a bridge organization between the government, industry, academia, with a common focus, which is the learner who needs to learn the skills which are relevant to the industry today. My personal background, I worked in the first decade in the automobile industry, starting with Maruti Udyog. It used to be known as Maruti Udyog then, and now it's called Maruti Suzuki India Limited. And then, of course, I went on to do my own stuff in education training, co-founded a company called Career Launcher, worked with Hindustan Times in their education venture, and been with Automotive Council for about 6 years now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Aniruddha, quick introduction.
Thanks, and very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Aniruddha, and I have been in this field with automotive and a little part of engaging with educational institutes for the past 3.5 decades. Today I am working with PricewaterhouseCoopers, that is also called as PWC. I am setting up the domain for automotive cybersecurity, which is when you drive your car in the morning, is it cyber safe? Not yet a question, I'm sure, on anybody's plate. A couple of years, and that's what all of us are going to look at. Today we look at, whether it has enough amount of safety in driving. So many other factors are also a part of safety. So in short, that's what I'm doing today. Other than that, been working with manufacturing. Last part of that is the cybersecurity, which I was doing earlier with Mahindra, more of digital transformation, and with Mahindra before this job for around 6.5 years. And prior to that, I have been in automation for 19 years, almost 19 years of my career. Various stages, right from jigs and fixtures to pneumatics, hydraulics, control engineering. So been there doing that and really enjoying the journey. And now I think the major part of it, thanks to Krishna sir, Ayushi, Kalyan. Today I am in a very, very interesting and happy spot, happy space. Right in my college, I always used to say, when are my teachers going to listen to me? I'm so happy. But this should be more of a dialogue and really looking forward for this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. So we tried to define a title for this conversation, not necessarily kind of putting something to a box, but just try to think about what should our conversation with all of you be revolving around. So we just came up with something like this. I'm going to read on behalf of all of us. The title that we tried to reach to is Role of Academia in Democratizing of Industry 4.0 Applications in Manufacturing Industry. So the topic, of course, is Industry 4.0. There's a whole lot of requirement of democratizing this technology and its facets. And now the discussion is about role of academia in democratizing this technology evolution process. With that as a backdrop, a quick brief on this. I will read it out again. This is the difference between getting things done, which I think aptly put up by Xavier also in his earlier slides. The difference between getting things done and getting things done professionally or properly. I mean, there's a significant difference in this aspect. The role of structured inside-out approach and how academia can help us build a technologically evolved and sustained manufacturing ecosystem. We need to understand some of these, we'll get into the details of this. We need to understand that even industries do not have so many elements that they desire to have because it's not practical to have. The other part of this discussion probably could revolve around design to build and build to scale. While design to build is something that, some small snippets and facets of that are visible during several, academic initiatives. But build to scale is a very interesting thing because that also has a lot of engineering in it. Using ontological approach in problem scoping, lab environment for speeding concept to development and deployment. So these are some of the elements that we might want to touch upon. And then get into the specific point where we might want to open this as a conversation is the first point probably is role of, because we know that there are several leaders, academic leadership teams sitting here. The first point in this discussion is role of leadership team in academic institutions in democratizing technology, or in specific a little bit of things about Industry 4.0. So what we would like to urge you to come up with is, if you want to complain about all your leadership people around, please open up. We'll try to solve these problems because there are a lot of leaders sitting here, and the objective of all the leaders sitting here is to solve problems. So if there are genuine problems, we might want to, there will be a few cribbing problems, that's okay. There will be problems. But if there are problems that requires a certain level of collaborative approach, I think we have all the necessary audience and people around to kind of try and understand the problem and address it. Firstly, Aniruddha, from your perspective, what you think is the biggest problem in industry trying to collaborate with academia at the leadership level? Leadership to leadership level. What is your take on that?
Well, I can answer this very seriously as well as try to make it a little bit more related to all of us. I'll take the other route first. If you don't like it, I'll go back to the first one. Who asks the first question? So, well, I didn't wait for my current wife. I have only one wife. Sorry, current matlab. But I didn't wait for her to ask me. I wanted to marry her. I went ahead. It's very personal. But it is as personal as that. I went ahead, I liked something. I said, oh, this has to happen. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. By the way, I was in college. And it happened. So we don't wait. I think most of us don't wait. When we are sure about what we need, there is always there is a fear of rejection. But we overcome the fear of rejection and we are successful. I'm not saying this has the further success, non-success from the managed point of view. I'm rather saying this is a problem probably coming to industry academia. Who asks first? Who needs more? Yesterday we were having a very good discussion with one of the very eminent people here. And the word I heard, a very honest opinion is, hey, look, there are no dependencies. And that was very interesting insight. Academia does not feel a dependency from industry. Whether industry feels like that, I think Mr. Arindam will explain this more. He's smiling. But I think it also applies a little bit. Industry wants, but they want it on their terms. So I think there is a little bit of intransigence which is easy to open up. I don't think it is something permanent. But Kalyan uses a word, permeability, quite a lot. This permeability is not happening. I think there has to be, if you use an electrical term, all of you must be using it with your students, using parables. I would like to use an electrical parable here. What is the potential difference for current flow? Am I resonating with people there, or is it something like the early morning Asaram Bapu? I am not having any wisdom, I have only lost hair. There has to be a potential difference, right? Somebody has to be wanting more compared to what the other has to give, and vice versa, so that it is an equitable system. And this is not there at the moment. Well, it is there. In fact, it is there. Because when I was with my earlier job, we had to recruit people. We were desperate to recruit people. Desperate to recruit people. And the facility gave us people from NEET, for example, who would be at the operators. And Arindamji will speak more about that. I needed engineers. I needed engineers who would look at a MES system, who would be able to look at the data, understand signal to data conversion, look at transforms, and create a dashboard which says, hey, look, your production is going down because of this. Well, I didn't have them. And I had gone to colleges and I have spoken to recruiters, or I don't know what is the word for that, placement committees, and fantastic responses. And I think Mr. Xavier used the word just now, employability. I think employability is pretty good. I would rather say contextuality is lost somewhere. They are pretty employable. I mean, I am proud to tell you, all my 32 subjects of 4 years of engineering, I still have with me. Right from first year engineering, material science, electrical engineering, BL Theoraja, all of them are valuable. SD Sharma, metallurgy, it's all valuable. So employability is not a question. Probably what is the problem is, are we getting it down to context? And the way Mr. Xavier showed, I really appreciate that presentation. You're adding sustainability now. So are we having a design from the point of sustainability? One classic example, how many of you have got plastic bottles in your hand? How many of you have got plastic bottles? Does the cap remove totally, or is it connected? Quick answer. Quick answer. No. Many of the bottles now have the dhakkan which does not come off from the point of sustainability. Because the dhakkan goes somewhere, you cannot retrieve it, it's adding to plastic waste. So all of the bottle manufacturers have been forced to make a cap which is a bit irritating and difficult to make, so that the cap doesn't fall off. Contextual. If I'm not able to design contextually, my design will not be purchased. If Sidel is not able to manufacture in that way, Sidel machines are useless. He spoke about Sidel. 600 bottles made per minute. Massive, right from the injection molding to the bottle. It's extremely fast. You can't see the bottles. But if the cap cannot be fitted and it stays on, If that design, the contextuality is not there, it is useless for me. Bisleri won't buy. How do you make this change? If I'm an engineer, I'm coming out of Ignan Jyoti or whichever college. How can I contribute to make that design work? That's where the teacher's role comes in. Now, is academia connected to industry on such points? I give the mic. Sorry, this was a little long explanation, Kalyan.
I have a little bit of Krishna here, so invite me. No, that I try to do it without that.
Yeah, so no, I'll try to cover it up, being a little shorter. Um, uh, you know, one of the thoughts that I've had always is all of you run colleges. How many of you here or have programs where you involve students in school to come to your campus and experience the college? Not at class 11th and 12th, because that's linked to your admission. So you will do it. But without that, eighth, fantastic. I see a few hands and it gives me great confidence. Now, I'll just take this point and talk about industry academia, is that there is a transition in our journey from each stage to the other stage. So there is a preschool stage where a child needs to get exposed to what this possible school environment is likely to be. Then comes a school stage. Then there is higher education. Then there is professional life, more learning, professional life, etc. Do we design the transition process or do we leave it to individual? So as leaders of a higher education institution, I think, and which what we need to, I think we do it in industry always, but again, industry when it comes to manpower doesn't really apply those principles. I started my career in supply chain management, procuring parts for vehicles. But the rigor that I see in that process, I don't see that rigor when it comes to human resources procurement for the organizations to be able to look at how that supply chain is going to look like. So I need to look as a leadership in my institution, and I'm just talking about higher education institution leaders here, as to how my supply chain will work downstream and upstream. How the material, raw material will come into, which I will be processing during my 4 years. And after I have processes and converted it and added value to that process, how will that get engaged to where it needs to get engaged? And do I give exposure to my students to get to there? And do I, first of all, have exposure to that system? Now, unless we connect the two, so which is what I would go back to what Mr. Xavier was talking about, systems engineering. And systems engineering happens in real life. Because you are always moving from one system to another system, and you need to see how those connections happen. So as leaders, your vision has to be very clear in terms of how do you engage your input material coming into your institution to how that outcome will go and get into the industry. At the same time, organizations like ours are also constantly working with industries to say that how do you enlarge your supply chain base for procurement of human resources for the work that you do. And the last thing that is very important for industry to come back to you is, in our context, we typically say that once education is over, you start working, and then education, we don't look back. But unfortunately, you know, what you learn there, I mean, I went to a management school in 1990s. And a good thing is that my director at that point in time told me, told all of us when addressing the initial conversation that we will teach you a lot of different subjects, none of which you will use in your entire career. And the only reason why we teach you all this is because you need to learn how to learn. Because what you will be using in your career is to learn new things and move on. And they keep calling us back. In IIMs, we have a system of going back to the campus every 5 years. We are asked to. And one of my, guide, guru, philosopher, he keeps repeating this every time we go back after 5 years, that you've come here for removal of manufacturing defects. And that's how you engage through the life cycle. We were talking about a product life cycle. What about human life cycle in learning? How do you manage that? Do you have a plan for that as a leader? Those are very important questions that we need to ask ourselves. Thank you.
Great there. So the reason I stood up is because I know that this is something that is supposed to be an engaging conversation. I would like to reach out to any of you here who want to either put up a question or continue this conversation. Before I do that, one thing that we are trying to commit ourselves towards, all of us sitting here, one thing that we are trying to commit ourselves towards is we understand that industry is a particular material, academics is another particular material. They are not cohesive materials by design, probably, I don't know. And there are ecosystems like IUCE, like ASDC, right? And if these can be those bonding agents, if these entities which understand both sides of the story by establishing some levels of collaboration, if these can be the bonding agents to create a smoother transition of this connection, I think that is something worth exploring. And with that, I would like to hear from any one of you. One question or comment, and I know this is a very exciting topic. I know there'll be a lot of things. So first hand raised. So I go with, whatever comes.
Thank you. So I worked in Manipal University, Jaipur, and Mr. Lahiri has worked with us. We were, I think, the pioneers in mapping the qualification QPs, which ASDC has developed for every professional requirement. And at that time, I was talking to our faculty. They were pushing back. They said, what skills? Engineers, are they going to work with their hands? I said, and that was a big shocker, because it took 2 months to convince them, and ultimately I had to twist their arms to map those skills through the QPs, which are very well defined. And I'm just adding that because Sir is not selling that aspect. How many of us here know that ASDC has defined what are the qualification packages required for different facets, for a design engineer, for a manufacturing engineer? You can actually reinvent your entire curriculum. And the hesitancy, and I'm being very candid, having retired now from Manipal, is that it was getting out of the comfort zone. Though our faculty, senior or junior, were never exposed, and which is what the other panelist mentioned, that you don't have that experience. Now, how do you go get that? And that is where I would leave it. I would actually sell on behalf of ASDC, use those qualifications.
Thank you so much. I know that there's been some great contribution from many of you in those, and industry definitely is been part of that design. And the good thing is that from those time to now, we've been facing this challenge that how to use these qualifications in the academic system. So I was told that in our credit system, it has to work only within certain hours, okay? So thankfully, we also understood that system and that constraint. We've also redesigned some of our qualifications which you can offer within your credit-based system itself, because you don't have to redesign it to fit into your scheme of things and or do it extra. So some of these our mutual learning process, and you can keep learning. You can share your problem, and we can take it forward.
So, Krishna, again, question to you. I want to ask first and foremost. We have just covered our time, what was allotted. We are at 12:45 right now. Our session was, is it there, or you have another 15 minutes? 1 o'clock? 12:48, okay. 10 minutes? 12, 20 minutes? Great. I mean, that's important because then we can organize how many questions. Sorry? 20 minutes? Fantastic, fantastic. So we'll try to organize the questions. I already got my second, third, so please kind of, I want to distribute it. We have to be demographically distributed in questions because ideas are different. We have to be gender distributed. We have to try to cover as much ground as possible. 20 minutes, and let's try to do our best. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a quick question. This to the panel. Thank you for this excellent opening remarks. You're talking about this academia, industry permeability in terms of dependency on each other. When an academician like me, think about industry, try to do some networking, on various forums and platforms. Students' internships, students' placements in our mind, right? But then I think we need to go beyond that in terms of, as you very wonderful words you have used, sir, human learning life cycle, or kind of supply chain, the up and down. So in terms of a personal, professional development also, that's very important. Things like externships. So I really want to know, based on your experience, can you really kind of give some inputs on this?
No, I think industry is pretty open. It's just that you need to define what kind of timelines, what kind of places, what kind of areas you want to explore. I have seen some very good example in a few colleges. I went to one college in Pune. I don't want to specifically name their college, where they have actually set up a extension of a research and development center of a manufacturer who is nearby, so that the basic research activities are first done there, and if they show some promise, and when it becomes more confidential in nature to that organization, it moves to the R&D center of that organization. Now, because this happens, there is a structured meeting of the faculty members along with the research engineers in that organization every month. So every month, 3 days, the faculty concerned, 2 faculty members spends time in that industry. Every month. And as a process, they are part of their working team because they are discussing what is the next project that we need to work upon and what is the update of the current projects that we are working on. If they have been able to do that, Pune, of course, industrially pretty good, not be possible in every location, but I'm pretty sure there are ways to connect this way.
I have just one more point to add, and it is a little bit of an outlier because this is not going to refer to what is working. Probably, I'm not sure, it might even address a question which is a little bit not asked, but probably you want to ask. Right through my career and the later part, when services has become very strong, and I work with an advisory, so there is a very common phraseology which is utilized between industry and now academia also. What is your use case? Probably it is the most abused word. There is this thing that, okay, we have this answer, I have a solution. Personally, what I have learned, and I think many people will agree to this, is you can answer whatever you want. First of all, what is the correct question? And who teaches you to ask the correct question? I think the problem you are addressing is, buddy, I am ready to go and work. But what do I work on? Now the thing is, even service industries, they would like to go and solve a problem related to data analytics and show AI. Everybody wants to do that. What do you want to solve? I don't know. Are you attacking profitability? Are you attacking throughput? Are you attacking sustainability? What are you attacking? So I think there is a problem there. If you are going from college or as an academician, probably you have a larger repertoire of understanding the problem in depth. And it is a case of applied engineering. So as he's saying, if we are able to sit on certain meetings inside, listen first, and help to first phrase the question, forget about solving it. I think 80% of the problem will be solved. This is my 2 bits on this.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So from the academic leadership side, would you like to touch upon what is the problem you face with the industry, especially in academic industry interactions? What is the top 2 problems you face? Why is it not sustainable? I know every single institution has tons of MOUs, right? I mean, there's no question about MOUs. You have tons of MOUs, a lot of things are there. Few of them are also working. I mean, it's not like, it's not a very doomsday story yet, right? There are few things are working. It's okay, it's doing good. Yes, I saw your hand, I'm coming there. But is there anything that you want to ask in specific, or is there something that we want to really wash out the dirty linen, saying that what exactly is the problem?
Thank you, Kalyan. So because industry is looking for profits and education institution producing quality students, quality graduates. So both are, I think, working indifferently actually, because no industry is coming forward to support, okay, to enroll the institutions. The challenges that which we are facing actually, we want to introduce the professor of practice. So no industry is coming forward to teach at least partially or fully courses. That is the one thing. And the second one is we are looking for the real-time problems, but no industry is coming forward to share real-time problems. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think there are some specific points that are raised. I think the claps reveal that this is relevant to many of them, right? So it seems to be very real. So while I would start with Aniruddha to kind of touch upon the specific 2 words. I mean, I really like this thing, when the question of profitability and profits of companies being the biggest differentiating factor between academic institutions and this one. Before I start, sir, just 2 cents, just 2 points here. I came across one of the very interesting articles. I mean, I'm very bad with names, so I don't remember the name, but it was very interesting. What it said is, it doesn't matter whether it is a for-profit company, non-profit company, trust, or government. They all have to generate money. There is no escape. If you do not generate money, you cannot grow. Full stop. And all of them, there is absolutely no difference. You run a for-profit, you run a non-profit, you run a trust, you run a government. Everybody needs money if you want to define growth. The style of operating, of generating profits, the only difference is in for-profit, the money is taken out as dividend. In non-profit, the money is not taken out of dividend as dividend, but something else. Expenses, something else, investments, reinvestments, recycle. But this notion that non-profit means they don't want money or they don't need to work towards generating money is somehow a flawed approach. Government means that they should not do something to generate money, for example, taxes, and only just do welfare also looks to be a flawed approach, because in order for you to spend money, you need to earn money. And even a grant, if you talk about grants also, you're selling to get a grant. You're selling yourself. You're selling a lot of things to get a grant. It's a selling process. So the notion that only for-profit companies are something which needs money and everyone else doesn't need money, think about it. So,
So I think it's a very interesting topic, and I don't know where to start because all the points are true. Honestly speaking, I don't have an answer. I have only experiences. And you have experiences, and many of us have experiences. Now, whether those experiences can be utilized to create a way ahead is where I would look at. But still, to be very specific and address your point, not answer your point, but address your point about profits being a motive there. Well, even educational institutions do run on profits if they run very well, except for the government funded ones, or maybe in some cases trusts, maybe. But even that is anathema today. Everywhere you have a good profit to run. Otherwise, it becomes difficult. Having said that, I think there is a very different, it's a little off track. I would like to take this in a different track. Yes, there is a problem there. Is it there in India more? Would be a very specific question I would ask. And I would say yes. Look at the spend of the so-called corporate sector or private sector on research and development. It is one of the lowest in the world. Now, if you look at Germany, for example, or if you look at US, I don't have specific data with me because I have seen this data flowing around a number of times. But the spend per capita, if you look at the GDP of our country on R&D or corporate earnings for R&D, if you look at it like that, is extremely low, which also means we do not spend enough on innovation. To be honest, we have fantastic brands which are made in India and sold worldwide. We have our own brands. But this is a little bit of a current situation. Traditionally, and I'm going a little bit deeper in this, I'm sorry. Traditionally, we have been trading. Nothing bad about it. We have got a different mindset to manufacturing. You tell me I manufacture. Right from World War I, when we had jute manufacturing, textile manufacturing started a very big way in the country. You are making for somebody else, made to order. From made to order to deciding what my local customer wants needs local innovation. Well, this is a little bit lacking. It's not that it's not there, it is little slow. So the need for the industry to come to academics, where innovation research can continue on its own and to some extent guided for projects, is a little bit low. We have to accept this today. The question is whether academia can go and change this, or whether together we have to do this, is the forward conversation. Correct, is what I would look at. This is the part. Other question you asked, I'm sorry, what was the second part?
Basically, it is the convergence, right? I mean, because from the academic side.
Yeah, so I think this answers
Yeah,
mostly
it answers
both of them.
So we have one more question here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Vikas Shinde. I work as a director. So I have two questions actually, but I will merge there. Currently, we need to assess first that where we are as an education sector. Probably Industry 5.0 is coming up, but we need to first understand where we are, like education 3.0 or education 4.0. So the gap is widening. That is the one thing. The second is the synergy between the industry and academia has to be created. That is one thing I believe. But somehow it is not there. One reason I feel that is innovation adoption. Like many a times academic projects are done by students, go to the industry, solve industry problem, and we submit as a solution. But seldom I don't have any feedback also that whether that adoption has been taken care and the industry has appreciated academia for that adoption. That's one question you can elaborate on. And the second is that the investment, where basically I believe there is a very less investment done by educating on teachers in India. It may come from the leadership of the education institutions, or it may come from the industry. So in both way, the question is that are we ready to invest to create the synergy? And the second is, are we ready to assess the current situation where education 3.0 and industry 5.0, what is the nature of the gap? So that is the two questions.
So, Arindamji, one thing that probably if you can touch up on is the government's investments and government strategies, along with the schemes that are there, where investments not just on the capital side of it, but on the empowerment of faculty, empowerment of training ecosystems. If you can touch upon what are your thoughts on that part.
Sure, thank you. Before I exactly speak on this, I'll just like to touch upon the previous question a little bit and contextualize it to what I am going to respond on this one. This whole debate about profit, not for profit, is more from an accountant's perspective. Okay. And I think as educators or people who work in the industry as well, there's a certain set of people who are entrusted or they have their expertise in accounting and they should be left dealing with that at that point in time. What we must answer ourselves is, what is the value that we are creating? Industry needs to create a value, academic institution needs to create a value. And if we can merge the two value together or align them together, is when we can work together. Because if you are creating a value which the industry doesn't understand or contextualize, then it's of no use to them. You may be great at that, but that's it. At the same point in time, if the industry is creating a value addition and he is not engaging with an academic institution to take the support of that academic ecosystem, then it's his loss. That's what we try and tell the industry as well. So our job on either side is to see how do we align our value additions in what we do. And if we can map that, I'll give you example from ASDC. He spoke about qualification pack, and I don't usually speak about qualification pack on any platform because I don't consider ASDC to be an institution which creates qualification pack. It happens because you have to do many things, so qualification packs happen. What I do at ASDC is to try and see what is the problem that is plaguing my industry and what is the problem that is plaguing my training ecosystem. And how do I find a solution around that? And that is where I would say this whole industry 5.0, 3.0, 5.0, 6.0, X.0 doesn't make any sense except that we find that what is that particular area of alignment that we have with the particular educational institution and the industry together. If we have that solution, then we are okay with it. In terms of investment in faculty, I think there is enough investment and enough schemes which are available in higher education system as well as skilling or vocational training ecosystem. Everywhere I go, I see amazing amount of hardware, hard infrastructure investment that is there. How many of us keep using that? I have been to an university in Odisha which runs on 3 shifts. There is a night shift because they produce parts for ISRO. And their mechanical engineering machine tools lab runs on 3 shifts. The students are divided into 3 sections, rotated like in a factory, that they come in A shift, B shift, and C shift. And the faculty also get distributed like that and they work like that. They've created an environment or a simulation of a factory system within the university system. And their utilization, they have much less infrastructure, they have much less investment, but their products, which means the physical products, are already selling, and their intellectual products, which is the students, are also selling because they are adding value to the to the industry system. That this is, see, you can say that why should I run a night shift? But the fact is that industry runs on 3 shifts. Yes. And you are preparing somebody who has to work on 3 shifts. So he should be. I have run program for field sales executive, and I'm just giving a random example here, where my classroom did not have any chair. Because a field sales executive is expected to be in the field for 8 hours, standing, walking, going. Why should he sit in an air-conditioned classroom in a chair for 8 hours, get used to it, and then I push him as a field sales executive and I tell him that now you have to keep walking and keep standing. I have trained you being on your seats. Does it work? It probably doesn't. And I saw that huge difference in attrition levels that happened because of that. So our thinking has to be that how do I create within my own system alignments of value addition that I do.
Good. Thank you so much.
Kalyan, just one important point. How many of other people here would like to ask the same question about Industry 3.0 and Industry 5.0, which he asked? I think it was a very interesting point. How many of you have this question? Or nobody has a question? Only him. That look, are we at Industry 3 or are we at Industry? Only he has a question? I'm talking about education. Yeah, I'm talking about education. Yeah, I'll be very specific. How many of us feel, hey, look, we are looking at probably sequencers or step generators, and now the thing is on PLC, but we don't even know how this logic works. So should we go there and teach this? I'll be very specific, right? How many of us have this question? You have the question. You have the question. Anybody else has the question or nobody else? Many of you have the question. And what do you feel? I mean, we can always give some answer. But as academicians, anybody, what do you feel? Should we go through the evolution or should we jump the evolution? What is your feeling, sir? You should go through the evolution. You should go through the evolution. Everybody feels. Why? Why? Sometimes? Exactly, exactly. Because personally, if you ask me, and many of you will say, I went through 2 steps. One was a sequential movement. Yeah, sorry, I'll just finish with this. One was a sequential movement. Pneumatic circuits, fluidics, this, that. Yeah. Is it required today? No. I would rather buy an NVIDIA for 30,000 bucks, put it, do a face recognition, see how the robo moves along with it and done with it. I want to sell it to the industry, boom, gone. Why do I need to know logic? Of course it helps me. Of course it helps me to go deeper and build something if I want to make my own product. Agreed. But what is happening? We have jumped. The industry has been jumping. What should academia do? That has also been a problem. You will always have a phase lag if you don't jump. So we need to do both. Keep the courses, but then allow people or students to be able to feel that, otherwise they will learn from YouTube. At the same time, have a deeper course and say, look, if you want to see the evolution of this, it happened from here. Sorry, but
1 minute, 1 minute,
Yeah,
1
please,
minute.
please.
I went to IIM Lucknow for my management, and way back in 1990, we had a concept called Course of Independent Studies, CIS, which means that the course did not have a curriculum. The course did not have an allocated professor. I, as a student, had to design a curriculum and go and sell it to a professor that this is the course that I want to do. Will you guide me? Yes, truly. And this is where you can do the jumping. The student can design what he wants to know, which is relevant to the industry today. It's not part of your curriculum. It's a flexible program. The teacher says, okay, fine, I know a little bit of it. I don't know fully, but I am willing to guide you and probably learn on the way. And I offer a course of independent studies. What's stopping us from doing this? If it was done in the 1990s in IIMs, why in 2024, 25, we can't do it in every college, every place? At least one course.
Great. I mean, there's been a lot of enthusiasm. Both of them, Aniruddha and Arindam ji, are here today till the evening, at least end of the day, somewhere or the other, moving around. If any one of you have anything to discuss, I think the team is more than available. Thank you all for being such an engaging and wonderful audience. There are some more questions actually, but I think we have a lot to do. Thanks, Krishna, for facilitating everything, as always. Thank you very much.
This is just the beginning. We will continue the dialogue beyond the conference. Thank you, Kalyan.
Thank you. Thank you all.